Hello, VC. It's Danny. Sorry, I know it's been a little while. I get caught in these loops where I feel like I don't actually have anything worth um, saying or worth making a video about. Um, trying to trying to combat that feeling. Anyway, let's just get to it. Got some records to show. So, first up is Alastair Roberts, Pangs, and I know I've mentioned him previously. I think I showed spoils in one of my other videos. Alastair Roberts is a Scottish folk singer. He's on Drag City, I think. He's label mates with Bonnie Prince Billy and Joanna Newsom. And if you're familiar with those artists and you imagine a more traditional folk sound, that would kind of approximate Alastair somewhat for you. If you're at all familiar with the music of Planxty, Shirley Collins. Shirley Collins is a bit of a stretch, but definitely an inspiration. But later Shirley Collins, like Shirley Collins with the Albion Band or something, that kind of has an Alastair Roberts sound. You know, it's folk rock, but heavy on the folk. I just wanted to show this. This is his newest album. So this is the one you're likely to see in stores. If you see it in stores, he's the type of artist that you could go to a great record store and say, "Hey, do you have any Alastair Roberts?" And they might say, "I have no idea who that is." He's he skews toward the obscure, but he's well worth checking out. I'm gonna keep making a case for him. I have a lot of his records, so I'll just keep showing him slowly over time. But Alastair Roberts, Pangs, worth checking out. There's another. I honestly can't remember. This is one of those cases where I don't know if this came out at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. But this is Semper Femina by Laura Marling. Another folk artist. She definitely skews a little bit more, much more toward pop songs. I mean, these aren't pop songs by any means, but this is much more digestible, I think, than Alastair Roberts. This album was produced by Blake Mills, who I know I've mentioned. He's my favorite musician at the time, currently. Laura Marling I hadn't listened to until he produced her album, and that's what got me into it. And there's a song on here, Wildfire, which I heard on the radio, and it was one of those, I'm done driving, but I have to sit in my car and just keep listening to this until it's over kind of moments. But this whole album, Soothing, The Valley, Wildfire, Always This Way, I mean, Noel, Nothing, Not Nearly. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous album. This is the deluxe edition, which came with 2 records, and one of which is a live recording of the album. It's like I don't know if they played it straight through or if it was kind of a set list that was reconfigured to be in album order, but it's kind of neat. Blake Mills is a very in the studio kind of producer. He makes, produced albums. So to get to hear a live version was pretty cool. It's a solid live version. It sounds like the beginning of the tour. It sounds like some incredibly talented musicians, but it doesn't sound like they are living in the pocket for every moment. Regardless, I'm talking about bonus features. This album, Laura Marling, Semper Femina, give it a listen. Great, great stuff. If it came out this year, one of my favorite of the year. And if it came out last year, it came out too late to be given its due. What got me thinking about what some of my favorites of the year had been was that I saw Andy's Vinyl Den show this album, Willie Nelson, God's Problem Child. I think he highlighted it as one of the best of the year, and I'm absolutely inclined to agree. I love Willie Nelson. Um, and as far as I can tell, I mean, I live in a metropolitan area of California, so uh, I don't know from firsthand experience, but this has been doing very well on the country charts, as it should do. Um, Willie's form never went anywhere, so to describe this as a return to form is a bit of a misnomer. Um, but a lot of times you hear people talk about they went to go see Willie and he speak sang through the entire set, or just didn't seem like he was maybe totally. They lament the loss of his voice, which I understand. His voice was like honey butter gold, you know. But it doesn't matter. Little House on the Hill, Old Timer, True Love, Delete and Fast Forward, A Woman's Love, Your Memory Has a Mind of Its Own, Butterfly, Still Not Dead, It Gets Easier, He Won't Ever Be Gone. I mean, that's all but 3 or 4 of the tracks, and I could have included them. This is a straight front to back listen for me. Willie's in top shape. Um, it's a great example of what an incredible songwriter he is. His voice, to my ear, it sounds great. He's really singing. I mean, he's putting it down. It's beautiful. Um, I'm a younger guy. I'm only in my 30s, but I found a lot to relate to in this album anyway. Um, yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff. If you haven't given that a listen, definitely check it out. More favorites from the year. This is Rhiannon Giddens' Freedom Highway. If you're unfamiliar with Rhiannon Giddens, get familiar with Rhiannon Giddens. She's amazing. She was the lead singer of the Carolina Chocolate Drops for a while. And kind of her career really took off with the Another Day, Another Time Inside Llewyn Davis concert. Seems around that time her and T-Bone Burnett formed a relationship, and he started featuring her in things. That would be where I would recommend. I just look up Rhiannon Giddens, Another Day, Another Time. She does a performance of Waterboy, which is incredible. I was watching Bill Murray perform once on some kind of live stream, and he couldn't think of her name, but he was like, "Who's that? Who's the girl who performs with a banjo and her voice is like an alarm, but in a good way?" And that's a very Bill Murray description of her, but I think a very accurate description. I think she's classically trained as an opera singer. Her voice is otherworldly. I mean, it's incredible. And so this is her second solo album, and her first was kind of it was like a Nina Simone album. It was full of standards, and it's great. I highly recommend seeking it out. It was a T-Bone Burnett production, so it had that perfectly produced sound that he is known for. Who produced this? Dirk Powell and Rhiannon Giddens co-produced this. From the moment this starts, you can hear the sound of the room in a great way. It was recorded in I think a Civil War era cabin. It's like you can hear the wood receiving the sound and pushing it back at you. This album has such a beautiful, warm sound. At the Purchaser's Option, The Angels Laid Him Away, which is a Mississippi John Hurt song. Julie, Birmingham Sunday. It's her songwriting chops took a huge leap with this album. The production, I think, took a step in a very positive direction. I liked the first album, so I don't want to say anything negative about it, but this is better. Yeah, I mean, she recently won a MacArthur Genius Grant, which is not, I mean, what does that mean? But well deserved. If anybody should be getting awards, she's one of those people. Rhiannon Giddens, Freedom Highway, great record. All right. So this is a recent pickup. Oh, this is Dave Van Ronk, just Dave. And this is one of those that I had found it, and I didn't know if I wanted to pay what my record store wanted, because if you've seen Andrew talk about Dave Van Ronk at all, or if you're familiar with his work, you know that some albums have been released 3 times with different album covers. It's not that there's any junk in the catalog, it's just you don't know what you're getting necessarily at all times. It can feel like diving in the deep end. But I saw that this was engineered by Rudy Van Gelder. Don't know if you could see that, but it's incredible. It's on Mercury. This came out. I don't know when this came out. I want to say late 60s, but in the liner notes by Terry Van Ronk, I believe his wife, it discusses how this is Dave kind of moving past some of the straight folk and blues work that he'd been doing before, kind of getting interested in jazz, becoming interested in what he could do with his voice, different techniques to keep the music more interesting, and he absolutely succeeds. From the opening track, Candyman, to the closing track, House of the Rising Sun, this is incredible. The sound is incredible. I highly, highly recommend it. This is really, really great stuff. And the interesting thing, House of the Rising Sun, that was a song that it just, it was a radio song. It never did anything for me. It seemed like the kind of song that all the kids who loved the Grateful Dead and jam bands were real into, and just never connected with me. But this version stopped me in my tracks, and it made me pay attention to the song. In some ways, for the first time, really earnestly. It was a really cool experience. And kind of going along with that, there's always some serendipitous connection between the records I'm listening to, and because I am superstitious when it comes to my record collecting and almost nothing else, I think there's some weird connection. But this album by Nina Simone, Right On, which is another recent find. This is an abridged version of Nina live in Europe, I believe. But it opens with House of the Rising Sun. And again, it's just another version of the song that stops me cold in my tracks, and I have to listen, I have to pay attention. She really reinvents the song for me. Sea Lion Woman is on here. Ne me quitte pas, I believe that's in Edith Piaf. I'll Never Quit song. Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, When I Was a Young Girl. And the interesting thing about Sea Lion Woman and When I Was a Young Girl being on here is that I actually was turned on to Nina Simone by the artist Feist back in my college years. I don't know if anybody knows Feist. She's fantastic. You definitely have heard one of her songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, on an Apple commercial. But yeah, it just makes you wonder, because Sea Lion Woman and When I Was a Young Girl are 2 songs that Feist has covered. So it just makes you wonder, whether you're spinning the same records. But this is not, I wouldn't say this is essential Nina Simone, but at the same time, I have a large collection of her stuff, and there's very little that I find unessential. Yeah, I don't know. Nina Simone, I've never been disappointed. Great record. Cool cover. And good stuff. I can finally add House of the Rising Sun, a list of songs that have some actual meaning for me. And last one here. I mean, depending on how strict you are with your definition of the word grail, you know, maybe I'm being overzealous here, but I have been looking for this record for years. 2008 at least. This is Roy Harper's Stormcock. This is a non-gatefold British repress on Awareness Records. Let me get the record out here. It's in beautiful condition. I was thrilled to pick this up. A buddy of mine turned me onto this record. Like I said, probably sometime around 2008. And I know Roy Harper was a huge inspiration to Joanna Newsom, who's a favorite of mine, and has been for many years. I'm sure many of you know Roy Harper. I'm sure many of you know Stormcock is widely considered his masterpiece. Some of you may know him from his association with Pink Floyd. Hats off to Roy Harper. Apparently, The Wall was his concept, is something I've heard. You know, who knows with that stuff. The Same Old Rock is track 2 on side 1, and every bit as, I don't know, I want to say devastating, but it's not. It's uplifting. It holds you. I don't know. I'm kind of running out of words because I'm getting excited. Everything on this album is good. As of right now, The Same Old Rock is the song that I have to sit down in the right spot and I get chills when I listen to it. It demands my attention. Yeah, I don't know. It's prog folk, I guess. You know, this is music that comes in movements. There's only 4 songs on the entire album. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's acoustic. I think it's a 12-string and a 6-string, and his voice. And it's just gorgeous. So if you're unfamiliar with it, definitely check it out. If you are familiar with it, you know why I'm so excited to finally have a copy of this album. Yeah, this is my grail for this find. Anyway, I'm sure that's a bit shorter of a video than normal. But that's all I've got for now. Just wanted to say thank you to Ronnie, thank you to Andrew. Both of you guys gave me shout outs in your responses to my friend Morrissey's 100 subs contest, and I just really appreciate it. Everybody who's commented, everybody who's liked or watched the videos, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. All the support. It's been a really cool community to be a part of. I know I'm nowhere near as good as Andrew at keeping that content flowing, but I'm trying to get better and enjoying everything that all of you guys are putting out immensely. Yeah, I'm gonna get my own contest response video out as soon as I can, and I'll try to be better about putting videos up. But thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.